All right, pandemic unemployment form and the application process in California. We were the first to really tell you the importance of applying for the PUA. The application form has gone live. Have you applied? How do you apply? And the big question is, how do you answer these questions? The questions are very confusing. We spoke directly with PUA officials today, got guidance as to how to answer the questions, and we're here to inform you in this video. As always, if you have any questions, drop them below. All right, the PUA application, it is done, first of all, on your state's unemployment website. You go in there and you do it online. Don't do it by telephone. You'll never get through. Where is it and how do you do it? Okay, when you go into your state's unemployment website, there's generally no section just for PUA. So if you go to the California unemployment page and you look for a PUA application form or PUA application section, sort of like you're going to Amazon buying beauty products, you're looking for the beauty section, it doesn't exist. It's actually inside of a general unemployment application. What does that mean? Basically, in almost all cases and states, you go into their unemployment website, set up a username, set up a password, and start to proceed to fill out an unemployment application form. The form is no different than a PUA application, with the exception of later in the application process, it asks a series of a few questions, of no more than 4 or 5, that are PUA specific. So what they've basically done, the unemployment websites of each state, is they've gone into their unemployment application form, their general form, and they've added a few extra questions in that application form that are PUA specific. So recap. When you go to your state's unemployment website, don't look for a PUA form, don't look for a PUA section. It's inside of their unemployment application portal. All right, so let's use California as an example, but I'm also going to talk about some other states. In California, you go to your state unemployment page, you set up a username, you set up a password, you go in there and you ask for unemployment benefits. It's called a claim. You're starting by filing what is called a claim. The claim here is a PUA claim. And if it's approved, then you don't submit future claims. What you do is you update for benefits every respective week. That basically means is you only file an application once, but you have to update them every week. If you've never done unemployment, and a lot of you have never done it before, it's a little bit unusual. Basically, it's sort of like you file an insurance claim, but then you have to update them about what's going on every week thereafter. All right, so let's talk about the claim form, the site. You go into the website, you provide a little bit of information. Now, this is the big one, the big issue, and if you learn anything from this video, it's this issue. It's going to ask you, and remember, you're watching this video because you know you qualify for PUA. It's going to ask you, who was your employer? The answer is none. And you may say, but that doesn't make sense. If you, and I'm going to just make up a name here. If you were Sarah James, beautician, but your business is Sarah James LLC, and your LLC employs you, you think that, hey, I'm employed by my company. That's not what PUA is envisioning. It's envisioning in asking the question, did Sarah James work for a corporation other than herself? So in asking, were you employed by a business, or were you employed by some entity in the last 18 months? The answer, if you were self-employed, is a no. And you have to remember that when going through the questions, because it comes up all the time. We spoke to a PUA official today who explained to us the confusion that people may have with that question. Whenever asked, were you employed, and the question doesn't have a qualifier. Basically, were you employed by a business in the last 18 months? The answer, if you were self-employed, is no, you were not employed, and it's because it's asking whether it was an actual business other than yourself. Now, later in the questions, there is a question that asks, were you self-employed? All right, the other questions that may trip you up that you need to know. There are two questions generally in the early part that ask, were you available to work? Were you willing to take work? And those are yeses and yeses. You answer yeses and yeses. It's basically saying that you're physically able to work and that you mentally do want to work. You have to provide a yes to both of them. If you don't, you're going to be denied. Then it's going to ask you if there's one question that is very, very confusing that says, were you working? But if you are claiming PUA benefits, then answer a no. Whenever you see a qualifier with like a comma and it says, but if you're claiming PUA or impact on your business because of COVID-19, answer no, answer no. It's as simple as that. And trust me, the PUA officials said the same thing. The questions are a little bit confusing and may trip some people up, but think of them in that regard. Now, there are, and we've talked about this before, and this is a big issue. You need to remember this. You're going to, at the very end of the application, generally, you're going to start seeing the PUA type questions. You know these are PUA questions because they're talking about coronavirus. It's going to say, is your application based upon COVID-19? Of course, you say yes. And are you claiming that business interruption because of COVID-19? The answer is yes. Now, it's going to ask you, you're going to see this list of almost 10, 12 scenarios. We've talked about this before, but we're talking about again, about 10, 11 scenarios. And it's going to say, which of these are your scenarios, is you? A, you contracted COVID-19. B, family member contracted COVID-19. Go to the last one. And I will actually indicate this. I mean, it's ridiculous to indicate this, but the last one is mistyped by the state of California. It's actually missing a word. And if you read it verbatim, the way they missed out the word, it totally means something different. Don't worry about that. That's just bad clerical skills. The last one is the one you should look for in every state because it's generally the one that might apply to you. It is phrased generally like this, that because of COVID-19, you were unable to work in full capacity, and as a result, you worked in either partial capacity or were unemployed because of COVID-19. Basically, if a stay-at-home order was instituted that prevented you from working in full capacity and you worked in partial capacity, that's the button you choose. Pretty simple. So what happens next? So you go through all this and you get to the last page and you confirm and you submit your claim. What happens next? Okay, in California, basically, they'll review your form. If you answered all the questions in the correct way, and there's really only one way that's the correct way, then you'll get a alert by email, if you signed up for email alert, which hopefully you did, and it'll say you have a new message. So you'll click the link back to the unemployment website. You'll go in there and you'll look under correspondences. It's the same thing in every state. You'll look under correspondences, and under correspondences, there'll be a PDF. You'll click the PDF, it'll open up, it'll be a letter, and it'll say you've been approved for benefits. Okay, so this is additionally a very confusing issue, but we're going to cover it for you here. So once your claim is approved, the question is, how much are benefits and which week are you getting benefits for? All right, the first question is the easier question. If you're approved, you qualify for, and we've talked about this before, you qualify for weekly unemployment benefits. Those amounts start at a base number. And we haven't discussed this before, and this is very important, but no one explains this to you. When you're approved for PUA, All they do in the initial claim approval is they say approved. They don't know how much money you made last year, so they just approve you at the base level. They approve you in California, it's 169, and some Midwest states, it's 139 per week. They approve you at a base number. Okay. Now, if you made more than $20,000 last year in gross revenue, and I'll get to that in a second, then you are entitled to more than the 169 or 139 that they start you at initially. And all you do is you submit them documentation. So let me back up. It's a lot to digest. I know it's a little bit complicated. But they initially approve your claim. Your claim is approved. Okay, the question is how much. They initially start you at the base amount, 169, 139, whatever is the base amount of your state. It's all published everywhere. But if you made, you made more than $20,000 gross revenue last year, you can ask for more money. So how do you do it? So you need to go back and pull your 2019 tax return, look at it, and look at the top section and look and see what your gross earnings were. It's not net income, so it's not the number after deductions. It's the number at the top of the first part of the page. And if your number is more than $20,000, you need to escalate the case. And escalate is probably not the right verb, but you have to inform the agency that you may qualify for extra benefits. Generally, your approval letter for your claim will say, hey, if you made more than a certain amount of money last year, tell us. And so what they're going to ask you to do is go into the website and upload the front page of your 2019 tax return. Very simple. You upload the front page of your 2019 tax return. Now, what I'm going to suggest to you is you also upload a quick little letter saying, hi, I got approved for base level, whatever is 169, but here are my 2019, here's the front page of my 2019 tax return, and I made X dollars, line item, see this. And they will then look at that, and if that's true, then you qualify for more weekly benefits. How much more? That's also easy to explain. Generally, the max benefits in most states is somewhere in about the $300 per week range. So they're going to initially approve you at 130, 169. If you reach the max, how do you reach the max benefits? Very simple. If that amount on that return, that tax return, is above about $30,000 or $40,000 for 2019 gross revenue, then you qualify for maximum unemployment PUA weekly benefits, which is about $300, $340. It changes per state. You can look it up online. Most states are in the $300 range, weekly basis. Now, here's a good thing. And we give you the bad, we give you the good. Here's the good thing. The CARES Act throws more money on top of that, and your state will explain that to you. In some cases, the California website doesn't even say it on there, so it makes it very confusing. But for benefits that are paid to you between February and July, you will get your weekly benefit check, let's say it's $300, plus $600 on top of that. That $600 is courtesy of your federal government. They have agreed that you get $600 on top of that on weekly benefits. All right, now the harder thing. I told you there's an easy one, this is a harder one. This is the harder one. How do you update your weekly benefits? Okay, so remember, you have your claim approved, you know your base amount for weekly benefits, you know how to escalate that amount or enlarge that amount to max benefits if you made a certain amount of money last year. You got that. You now have to also tell them every week that you want benefits paid. If you do, if you qualify. If the situation is still the same, you have to submit a weekly benefit request. This is very, very, very important. People don't realize this. They think they just sit back and they just get deposits every week. It's just not true. Once the claim is approved, you have to go back into the website every single week and submit a benefit request every single week for a respective week that has just passed. If you don't get paid. And so remind yourself that this is going to be an ongoing process. You go in there, it's not a lot of questions, just a few questions. But once your claim is approved, you have to update them every week and say, hey, I want an additional check. All right, so the last thing is, how do you receive the payment? And this is a little bit disconcerting depending on which state you're in. In some cases, for example, in the Midwest, they are very, very fast in processing PUAs. So in some cases, if you were on their website before April 28th, your claim has already been approved and they've already informed their banking institution to issue payment. In some states, they issue payment via direct deposit that you provide on the state unemployment website. In other cases, they issue a debit card to you. That's in California. They issue a debit card. The printing of the debit card backs up the process, which is just not reassuring, but it does. So they have to print you a debit card and send you the debit card, which takes an additional 4 weeks before you even start seeing money. They then say keep the debit card, and they are funding into the debit card each week as you qualify for additional benefits. So depending on which state you're in, if your state does direct deposit, you could see payments within just a few days after you approve for PUA benefits. In other states, like in California, that uses a debit card process, you may have to wait at least 4 weeks till you see your funds. And there you go. There's so much to the PUA process, whereas it is one of those processes in this CARES Act that a lot of people have forgotten about, but it's very beneficial to a lot of people. As we've discussed, this video does not cover whether you qualify for PUA benefits. We have done that in another video. You can see that below. But if you have any questions, comment below. We respond very quickly to comments. Whether it's PUA, PPP, EIDL grant, stimulus check, proposed stimulus check, we are here to update you with any questions and all the information. We tell it good and we tell it bad. Stay with LALATE for more.